we are not Google's customers. The ad companies are Google's customers, right? That Google are selling us.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there was an interesting article by a VC blogger, and he was saying, you know, Google take calls from their customers, and when he says that to people go, well, they don't listen, they don't take calls from me, and he says, well, no, you're not their customers. They're not paying you, you're not paying them, you're consuming the services for free. Now, one of the interesting things that I can see here is that there is this notion for free, and I've talked about this quite a lot in information security risk, is that just because it's free doesn't necessarily mean it's benign. It's not actually free. You're always selling something, whether you realise it or not. So if you get a free application from on your iPhone or your Android device, it's free because it's selling marketing and information about you, your location, the information that's coming from your Twitter feed. You may not be aware of what's happening, but you are selling part of your soul, effectively, to get that application, getting Angry Birds for free. And it's more than just inserting an advert. So there's this concept that it's not just the content, but actually the infrastructure that is potentially a way of, well, is not benign, and has ulterior motives which you may not be aware of. So in terms of decision making, that's quite important.
Yeah, and search is a huge thing where that's absolutely true. Like, remember the conversation we were having with Microsoft, who spoke about what was it? Being guilty by association because of all these filter bubbles and echo chambers that searchers create. So, I mean, you know, is it possible that in future you're a digital troublemaker just by the sort of search information that you've entered over the next few years?
Within a class had sort of searched Al-Qaeda training video, then that would stay with them. And they would actually be targeted, potentially by the police or whoever else that Google would give that information to, as, like, we're putting you in a set of people that is interested in this thing. It doesn't matter that you may have looked at it for research purposes because you're looking to solve that problem or anything else, because it can't tell. Google cannot yet tell why you were looking at a piece of content, the reasoning behind it. So it makes quite large assumptions.
And, I mean, there are some shocking stats around search as well. That there has not been enough done on it, but we know that a third of young people think that Google ranks its searches according to accuracy, and the majority of young people just trust the first thing that comes up.
The internet never forgets, right? That's one thing. So your mistakes will never be forgotten and be replicated in high fidelity for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and you can go back now in Google to states in the past and see stuff.
The other thing is that whereas in a physical community, if you're a troublemaker, the community has an incentive to inform you that your behaviour is not appropriate. Okay, to help you adapt. So you make mistakes. The community around you, physical community around you, your family, your friends, will feed back into you and say, you know, that's not necessarily a good way of doing it, hopefully, or a clip around the ear. But online, the online community doesn't have the same incentives necessarily.
But it still does it, though, doesn't it?
Well, yeah or no.
But you sort of learn your lesson. Like, take a really current example. Tom Daly got tweeted, your dad would be ashamed of you. The kid who's tweeted that, do you think at this point in time he is thinking that's a great thing to do? Or he's completely learned an amazing life lesson?
Yeah, I mean,
what's happening online and the way...
It's not your mum telling you, it's like the whole nation, really.
But if he sent that tweet to me, right, we were talking about one very specific instance that's created a case because that person is high profile and in media at the moment. But if we talk about the generic case of somebody who just sends that to me, what online community is going to feed back to him and go, no, what online community is the sort of the temperance? What part of the current online community is that feedback mechanism that says actually no, you shouldn't really be doing that? And it's not tangible. It's virtual. So there's no direct feedback.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, what we see with young people is that. And one of the things that came out of the research with Demos is that they're caught in an echo chamber a lot of the time, and there is actually, because young people can start doing things thinking it's a good thing to do and it become a trend, but when it's actually looked at in context it's a really, really bad thing. And it's because they look for these places that they can do whatever they want, like that they have freedom
or
in.
they just find themselves in them, and then there's no flow of dialogue.
Information. And it doesn't have anyone who's older there looking in and saying, would you really do that? Is that a great thing to do?
Well, it doesn't have diversity. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody older, but a diverse community. Emigration now doesn't mean anything, because I could go to Australia or I could go into Eastern Europe and completely still retain my culture 100% and all my friends, you know, my religion, everything, virtually. There's no need for me to fully integrate into the physical culture I'm moving to, because everything that every piece of information and my traditional identity and the identity I had in the other country can be constantly reinforced via the communications from where I left. So I'm not going to start, you know, you can create situations where you talk about the echo chamber online, but you can create ghettos, echo chambers in other physical spaces which are constantly being reinforced from remote locations in real time. You know, that's the thing. Effectively, what the technology is doing is punching wormholes into other physical locations to reinforce social identity from the old social culture that you were in a new location.
Yeah, but if you look at the London riots, okay, you've got young people that are embarking on criminal activity. A lot of them are already connected to BlackBerry Messenger. They're doing something that's criminal. But you can also see, you know, I see that from a really different lens, in that they are embarking on something that's a rebellion against capitalism. It's the Bauman argument. They're totally rebelling against this bastion, this walled castle of consumerism that they're not allowed into. And their way of doing it is completely justified in my eyes, because, you know, okay, it's illegal, but look at the way we've excluded them from that. Because they can't get a job, you know, they're advertised to so immensely on these networks and on Google, on Facebook. You know, they're just marketing tools, essentially, these networks. So who can really blame them for taking what they want because they can't get it and learn their own pace? Because actually work and education is just going two completely separate directions at the moment.
In what sense?
Well, because when you come out of school, you're just not prepared. This whole Victorian element of like just regurgitate what's in a textbook, it's just, that's been completely discredited. And the tools that they need in the new world are like creativity. You know, they need to think critically. They need to find the information they need and learn at their own pace and their own style and self-learn. Yeah. I mean, look at Larry and what's his name, Google guys, both Montessori. The whole thing was based around, you know, their ideas, their thing, their own way forward. There's a lot more. There's a lot more pace given to people who can do things by themselves. Look at the amount of dropouts. They're all all the sort of idols of the, you know, Web 2.0. Zuckerberg, they're all dropouts. All of them were dropouts from Microsoft to Facebook. All of them.
So